I can't. And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com. Make sure when you're downtown, when you're at the banks, you stop by and visit our good friends at the Holy Grail. Maybe a Reds game, it's Bengals season, you're getting ready to tailgate, whatever it may be, stop by. And while you're there, get a Cincy Light, because 50 cents from every purchase of Cincy Light at the Holy Grail gets donated back to the Cincy Reigns NIL collaboration. Support those that support us and support the Bearcats. As always, stop by and visit our good friends at the best sports bar in Cincinnati, the Holy Grail at the Banks. All right, let's get this show on the road. Dave is not in his normal place with his elaborate UC background.
Yeah.
He is Gatlinburg, huh?
In the mountains.
You and the Bears.
Me and the Bears. Yeah, lots of bear encounters so far. Lots of putt, some pool time today. So good trip so far.
All right. Well, we are joined this week. Our Big 12 preview series continues, and I tried to stop Aaron before we got live here to practice, but I'm gonna give it a shot live. We are joined by Adam Munsterteiger.
Perfect. Good job. Yeah, no, you hit it right. Yeah, good job.
Excellent.
From BuffStampede.com. That's why I'm a pro with 20 years in the business, Dave. That's how that works.
Right. But
Adam, welcome in. We appreciate it.
No, I'm excited. It's going to be an exciting season this year coming up. I think we all expect a lot of parity in the Big 12, and so that game with Cincinnati coming to Boulder in late October, that should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I want to just start off with kind of what is it like covering a Deion Sanders Colorado team? Do you have how much access do you get? What, just how is it going in that regard, just from a media standpoint, working on a program like that?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been a lot of things. I would say, though, coming off Colorado's 2022 season, when they ranked dead last out of 123 FBS programs in scoring margin, that on some level it's been a lot of fun to actually see talent get improved in this Colorado football program and cover that. Now, yeah, we don't get the one-on-one coverage that we used to get when we had other head coaches, and part of that is that, Coach Prime doesn't really trust the media a whole lot because of some of the stuff that's happened out there. But we have a pretty good relationship. And, there is definitely this perception of Colorado's program on the outside. Having covered it for the last year and a half, it's quite a bit different than a lot of people say in terms of just there really is a structure put in there. Coach Prime is an old school coach. Your socks have to match. You don't get away with certain things that some other coaches, honestly, that Colorado have gotten away with. In a lot of times you end up covering guys that get arrested here and there. From that side of things, it's been a disciplined program. Now they did get penalized a lot last year for a lot of procedural issues, but from the off the field stuff, like, honestly, I think that perception I think is a little bit different than maybe what people think. Coach Prime has had off the record conversations with the media, and he's certainly a little bit different when the cameras aren't on. But he doesn't have to be doing this. He doesn't have to be coaching college football. He's certainly made enough money and fame outside of it, but even beyond his son's graduating this year, I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be around coaching in college football going forward. So it's been interesting just because you're kind of lumped in as a general media member at certain times. So you're not going to get as much access, but in terms of what I've observed from the program with him running it, it's not what, certain publications might put out there.
Colorado in the Big 12, then to the Pac-12, now back to the Big 12. What has been the reaction from just fans in general, whether it be football, basketball, what are their thoughts on how things went down with leaving the Pac-12 and now coming back to the Big 12 and what that means for Colorado athletics moving forward?
Yeah, obviously it's a much different Big 12 that Colorado is returning to. They don't have those rivalries against Nebraska and Missouri that they enjoyed in the past. And there's no Texas, Oklahoma. But given how much of a mess the Pac-12 was the previous 13 years that Colorado was in it, they're kind of excited to get back into going to more rabid fan bases on road trips. That was an issue with the Pac-12. There just was not this fun game day atmosphere that Colorado was used to in the Big 12. It was kind of a wine and cheese atmosphere if you went to a lot of these road trips. And so getting back there to the Big 12 to go to some places, new is always fun, right? Because you get to go travel to new places. Now, I don't know if Colorado's traveling contingency is going to be quite as big in the Big 12, given that it's going to be tougher to get to some places. But generally, I think folks are excited about it. I go back to last year when Colorado opened the season up against TCU, and I was walking around before that game on the way to the stadium, and just the tailgate scene was so much better in the Big 12 than what Colorado experienced when they were in the Pac-12. And so I think it's going to be fun, but had it worked out in the Pac-12, I think Colorado fans would have been fine with that as well. Obviously, they weren't going to get the SEC or Big Ten invite right now. So the Big 12 was definitely the best option.
Let's go on the field. We'll start on the offensive side. I mean, everybody that's listening to this knows what Shedeur Sanders is as a quarterback, knows Travis Hunter can play wide receiver and defensive back. Offensively, outside of Shedeur, who are we to watch? Who are kind of the guys that you have noticed so far in camp that are going to be the ones to be the impact skill guys?
Yeah, they also returned Jimmy Horn Jr., who was pretty successful last year, had some drop issues at times, but was a pretty solid receiver for them. But a couple other pass options for Shedeur Sanders that they're really excited about are LeJontay Wester and Will Shepherd. LeJontay Wester is a transfer from FAU. He was an All-American punt returner last season and was a guy that if you got a chance to watch Colorado's spring game, really stood out in there and had that chemistry with Shedeur Sanders. He's an ankle breaker. He's going to make a lot of big plays in the open field. And then Will Shepherd, who transferred in from Vanderbilt, he was their leading receiver the last couple of years and really kind of went under the radar there at Vandy. And he hit the portal and saw catching passes from Shedeur Sanders as maybe the best chance for him to get drafted earlier this coming season. So the skill talent is there. Now it's the trenches in how they've improved there that I think Colorado fans expect to make the biggest difference for this team this year.
And that's where I was going next. I mean, so much was made of the offensive line last year. I'm sure, have to imagine it's been transfer portal heavy. How have those additions been working out and kind of, how big of it, when you mix and match and bring in all these different guys, you're never quite sure, but compared to last year, you have to imagine that anything is going to be better than what we saw last year.
Yeah. The last year's group made it very easy for this year's group to supersede what they did out there. Shedeur Sanders got sacked 52 times. And so you come in with a new group, and this group is different than the group they brought in from the portal last year. Last year, Bill O'Boyle was their offensive line coach. He came in with Sean Lewis from Kent State, and he took a lot of guys that were JUCO guys, a lot of FCS players, and it just did not translate to this level. And when they got to about week 4, 5, 6, when other teams started to kind of really recognize the weakness within the interior of that offensive line, it was like sharks smelling blood in the water, and it got ugly pretty quick. If you tuned into that UCLA game, I mean, Shedeur Sanders couldn't even get to his first read on a lot of those plays. And so it was an unmitigated disaster, and they have brought back only a couple offensive linemen from last year's team. And the emphasis was on bringing guys that had experience at the FBS level, guys that had a pro draft grade, Guys like Justin Mayers coming in from UTEP, Tyler Johnson from Houston. And Tyler Brown was a guy that they were really excited to have in the program last year, coming in from Jackson State. He was a FCS All-American, but he was ruled ineligible last year. So he's part of that group now that's out there. Jordan Seaton is a 5-star offensive lineman that comes in now. Starting a freshman at left tackle is going to be, at times, I'm sure, an adventure for this staff. But the floor for Colorado's offensive line group, and as a result, Colorado's offense is risen quite a bit from what it was last year. Now, what is the ceiling from there? I think that's where you start to kind of have that debate in question until you actually see it out there on the field. But this is not going to be the same group that was getting punked time after time last year, and a group that just had their confidence shattered. If there's one thing about this offensive line group, it's that they've got a bravado to them that, they're trying to pick fights every day in practice. And frankly, that's kind of what this program needed coming off last year. They needed somebody that was going to have Shedeur Sanders back.
From a run game standpoint, Dylan Edwards transfers to Kansas State. Alton McCaskill not there anymore either, correct?
Correct.
Who is kind of the, running back one, and how does that work with the new offensive line in the way that Shedeur, with the throwing and the different receiving threats that they have? What should we expect from the run game?
Yeah, it's the most wide open competition on the team this preseason, and it might be a situation where you kind of see it go week to week with that running backs group. Dallin Hayden transfers in from Ohio State. He rushed for over 500 yards as a freshman there, a good yards per carry average. Isaiah Augusta transfers in from Arkansas. He had a over 100-yard game as a true freshman, a little bit less proven than what you had with Alton McCaskill that had that 18 touchdown season at Utah. So these guys are similar talent, but haven't quite gotten that opportunity to play a whole lot at this level because they're younger guys. And so it's going to be a younger group. And honestly, to me, what's going to make that group better, even beyond just what their talent is in that room, is just the improved offensive line play, because it just was not an option for them to run the football most times last year. And so you would expect that to change. There's some scheme changes offensively. It was a lot of RPO heavy stuff last year where the defense wasn't showing the look to run the football, whereas this year it's going to be more designed runs. So we'll see how it plays out. But that's a group that reloaded pretty well. But it's really that offensive line that I think is going to make those guys look better than anything else.
Switching over to defense, you mentioned kind of trenches. Defensively last year, defensive line, not really, high-level Power 5 caliber. I know they've brought in some transfers along there. I believe probably one of the two best players from Pitt comes over on the defensive line. How is that group coming together as far as, just being a better unit going forward for this year?
They've definitely improved the pass rush. Last year, Jordan Dominic had 24 pressures, but he was the only guy on the team that had more than 20 pressures. And so this year, you mentioned Deion Hayes coming over from Pittsburgh. BJ Green was an established pass rusher. He was Arizona State's top graded defensive player last year. And so now you've all of a sudden got a couple guys that can get into that 25, 30, 40 pressure range. And so it's been improved just in terms of a depth standpoint. Last year, I think you'd look at a defensive line group and say, well, we like Amari McNeil and we like Shane Cokes, but now they're competing to even start with, they've got about 8 upperclassmen on the defensive line and an improved edge group. I still wonder about this team's ability to stop the run consistently. That was a big issue for them last year, but I feel pretty confident that their pass rush is going to be quite a bit improved.
Stopping the run in this league is it's not the Big 12 that Colorado left. You look around this league, there are a bunch of NFL backs and big physical offensive lines. I know they're not 3 yards in a cloud of dusting people, but it's one of my concerns for Cincinnati. I mean, stopping the run in this league is got to be number one for any defense that looks to have success.
Yeah, and so that's maybe the biggest concern you have as a Colorado fan going into the season. And it's all about what your expectations were. Last year, it was viewed as a disappointment, them going from 1 win to 4 wins in the first year under Coach Prime. But they were close in a lot of those games, and the offensive line play was horrible, and they were really, really struggled against the run. There were some games like the Arizona game that they really outplayed the Wildcats, but those running backs kind of just pounded away at Colorado's defense, and they ended up getting fatigued late in the game. So those are the big question marks for this team, without question.
You mentioned Travis Hunter at the jump. More than likely surefire first-round pick in this upcoming NFL draft. Back seven as a whole, outside of him, where are you at his comfort level there? And, knowing that the defensive line has to take a jump in stopping the run, what are we looking at in that kind of group going forward for this year?
Yeah, Trevor Woods is converted safety that's going to play linebacker for Colorado this year. Vonta Bentley was one of their more improved players at linebacker last season, and those are going to be their linebackers, it looks like, going into the season. And they're pretty solid, but again, it's one of those things that after last year, seeing how much they struggle against run, you really want to see with your own eyes before you really buy into it. On the back end, they bring in Preston Hodge from Liberty, who was their highest graded player. That was an undefeated football team until they played Oregon in the bowl game. He's come in and been a big piece for Colorado in the secondary. He's going to play corner in nickelback. Travis Hunter is going to play corner and nickelback. The plan is that Travis Hunter is so special that have him shadow the other team's best receiver, whether that's out of the slot or out wide. And so that's how they're going to kind of play that. DJ McKinney comes in from Oklahoma State, was kind of a rising defensive back there that is going to be probably the other starting cornerback for them. And then you've got Shiloh Sanders on the back end with Cameron Silman-Craig. Those two guys they gave up a lot of tackles last year, but then they also made a lot of game-changing, momentum-changing type plays. Shiloh Sanders, I think it was 7 turnovers he created last year, and Cameron Silman-Craig had some big turnovers as well. So it's kind of a back end of this secondary that can sometimes miss tackles, like I said, but will other times make big plays. So it is a defensive group that should get better. How will it rank in the Big 12? It's kind of hard to say. Right now, I would venture to guess somewhere in that 9-10 range in terms of scoring defense, but that might be all you need for Colorado when you have the offensive firepower that they do.
It seems like, from an outsider's perspective, that the team could be better this year, but given the schedule is pretty brutal when you look at one of the best FCS teams, Nebraska, and then a rivalry game, and then you've got seems like every top team at least in the preseason Big 12 rankings is on the Buff schedule this year. What are kind of expectations going into year 2 with Dion there? Is it a situation where the team might be considerably better, but because of the schedule have similar results as last year?
Yeah, I don't think the schedule is any tougher this year than it was last year. The Pac-12 had a lot of really talented quarterbacks last year, and you don't have the Oregon or the USC on the schedule. This is a schedule, though, that could go a lot of ways, and I have never seen a Colorado schedule that has more coin flip games in it than this year's does, because I'm expecting a lot of these games to come down to the wire. But yeah, there is a lot of pressure on them early in the season. North Dakota State is not usually a team that you want to schedule non-conference, especially the first game of the year. That is I kind of compared a little bit to, like, maybe you call them like the FCS version of Utah. They're always solid in the trenches, and that just always makes them a tough challenge for other teams, especially early in the season. And so Deion Sanders at Big 12 Media Days was joking that he was kind of razzing the athletic director for scheduling that game. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. It's going to be a Thursday night game, and the week 0 slate in college football is not very good. You've got, Georgia Tech and Florida State playing over in Dublin, but you don't really have any marquee games. So that Thursday night, given just the amount of controversy that Colorado's program has conjured up here is going to draw a lot of eyeballs. And so that should be a fun night at Folsom Field. This is not the same North Dakota State team that knocked off a ton of power conference programs. They've gone through a coaching change, but you better be prepared to strap it up against them, because you don't want to start this season with a losing streak and kind of just have that continuing negativity that's going to snowball if that happens.
So with UC coming to Boulder, give our fans, what they could expect. Good tailgating spots. The game day atmosphere, everything that they need to know. Because I know we have a bunch of fans that are looking forward to coming out there for that game.
Yeah, no, definitely head out to Pearl Street. There's a lot of restaurants and bars over there, even up on the hill if you're younger and you want to kind of see how the Colorado students are living. That's a good spot as well. But yeah, there's quite a bit of tailgating action all around the stadium in pretty much every direction. And I think late October, that should be a perfect time to be in Boulder. So I would go to the Sink on the hill if you want a good burger. The Dark Horse is got a good bar scene before games, and just Pearl Street in general. You're going to find a lot of spots. You can't walk more than a couple steps without walking into coming across a good restaurant.
I know we have a bunch of people that are looking forward to that one. Chad, you got anything for Adam here?
I do have a recruiting strategy question. Do you foresee this continuing in the portal the way that Dion has done, or do you think, because when they've gone after high school kids, they've had a really high hit rate on the talent, but the numbers as he has rebuilt the roster have been kind of very heavily skewed towards the transfer portal. Do you see it balancing out some, or do you think he's going to look at the portal and say, we're going to go get guys that, have gone through this and done it?
Yeah, I think as long as Deion Sanders is in Boulder, you're going to see that ratio change a bit, but I would imagine they will still be transfer portal heavy, just because he doesn't really like to have a bunch of dead weight on the roster. And they'll develop guys, but you got to be at least ready to come in, contribute on special teams. Like, they want instant contributors, and in a lot of freshmen nowadays, you got to come in, put them in the incubator and kind of let them develop a little bit. So he's not a patient man in that sense, but I do think you'll see them increase the number of high school players that they sign every year. I think every year that he's in Boulder, the weeding process of guys that just aren't bought in, that's with any program. You start to get a little bit more buy-in every year. And that way you can, in this new era with the revolving door and the transfer portal, you're never going to truly get back to the way it was 5, 10, 20 years ago with college football. But I think that is the kind of dream for him, is to slowly add a little bit more high school talent in. But it is tough when you're trying to build through the portal in the trenches, because guys that come in on the O-line or D-line and are successful at their current school, they're usually not in a rush to transfer. Now, skill players, you can always find them in the transfer portal, and Colorado's done a good job of that. So that's the part of it. I think if you're Colorado, you need to, over time, start to develop a little bit more of the talent in the trenches organically versus relying on the portal, because it really is tough to find offensive linemen out there.
There's very few of them, and they're very expensive.
Yep.
And going to get more expensive when revenue share starts.
Well, Adam, thank you. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you've got going on your guys' site right now.
BuffStampede.com on the 24/7 Sports Network. Yeah, we're in the trenches, covering camp right now, and anxious to see how this goes. There's a lot of pressure on Colorado's program, obviously, this fall, and so anxious to have a front row seat to it all.
Well, awesome. We appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll hopefully we can catch up, as we get closer to the season, get in that game week and see
Dave,
how the teams. What?
I was going to say, let's real quick. Are Are you taking Colorado giving 8.5 to North Dakota State week 1?
Yeah, I think Colorado wins that game by 10 plus points. Yeah, I think, again, this is not a North Dakota State team that upset a lot of those major conference programs back in the day. It's going to be a tough matchup, but yeah, no, I have them winning this game by 10 to 14 points.
And then do you have a favorite darts only parody video? I don't know what that means.
Parody video.
I have no clue.
Yeah, I got nothing for you there.
Yeah, I'm out on that one too. No idea.
All right. Jason, if you were trying to be funny, it didn't work.
That was the stitch that I was talking about in the pre-show, where they had a Colorado put out a tweet where Shedeur was throwing a pass and it looked like it was probably going to be intercepted, and then they stitched in an actual catch from a completely different camera angle and said darts only as they tweeted that out, as if it was supposed to be.
Oh, I didn't see the darts only part.
Yeah, just to give you guys a heads up, I've seen the actual footage of that. That was they didn't doctor that. That was actually a touchdown throw that Shedeur had.
It's just bad editing.
Yeah, well, you got to get artistic. It's like every preseason camp, you get bored a little bit at times. You got to try to do a little something creative, I guess.
That's right.
All right, man. But we appreciate it, Adam. Dave, you can finish. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Adam. Everybody check out buffstampede.com. Check out Adam's work. He's big on Twitter. See his tweets all the time, keeping everybody up to date on everything Colorado. So thanks, man, and hopefully we get a good game late October, and there's a bunch of UC fans out there.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Let's do this again. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank
man.
you.
If you ever need anything from us, let us know.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Adam Munsterteiger. Got it first try.
Nailed it.
I mean, I pretty much was just ready to call it a day.
I didn't even try. I was like, what did I tell Aaron? Adam and his last name I'm not even gonna try. So send him an email.
I meant to ask and then I forgot. And then right as we went live, I remembered that I needed to ask, and Aaron had already hit record. So that's what you heard at the beginning, where Aaron was like, "It's too late." And I was like, "Yeah, well, here we go. Just gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off and see how it plays out."
Yep.
But yeah, so good stuff on Colorado as our preview series continues and rolls on, and we're getting close, Dave. Like it is not far away.
Nope, we are 3 weeks away Saturday, so we're right there. I wanted to ask first, right off the gate, what was the dinner last night? Are you going to do a read? Would you like to do a read first?
I was going to do a read first.
Good, then I'll turn my camera off so I can eat some of my dinner while you do a read.
You're killing me, Dave. You're killing me.
I don't want to eat dinner at 10 o'clock, though.
The timestamp is brought to you by Turtles Brew. 6% ABV, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. Great flavors. Lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's over 100 locations in and around the state of Ohio, 50 plus in greater Cincinnati alone. So go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. And remember, they've got pouches now, like adult Capri Suns. They're 12-ounce pouches. You can get a single pack or you can get a 5-pack. So go get you some Turtles Brew and enjoy what's left. Summer's over for me. Like is summer. Like camp started, summer's over. Everybody else gets to take it all the way to Labor Day. I'm kind of upset too. Like I really wanted to do a fire Saturday night after the scrimmage, and then my cousin's having people over, and I don't think I'm allowed to just say no to that.
You don't have to go.
Kind of. What's going on in the background?
Where? In my house? Will is what's going on in the background all the time. Hey,
okay.
I can't hear, buddy. But yeah, so you got to do the night practice last night. What was did you get to eat dinner?
No, we just Kelsey and I got something on the way out there. She had a long day, so she was ready to head back this way. I didn't see them. I know they have a snack time, like after late night, like 9-10 o'clock, but I didn't see anybody in the dining hall. So they had the soft serve ice cream truck there. How about this, Dave? Practice ends. We're getting ready to do interviews. Kelsey, first in line, gets herself soft serve ice cream.
Like she's on the damn team.
Well, it gets worse. It gets worse, Dave. And then by the time that we get done with the interviews, guess what happens?
There's no more ice cream.
No, there's plenty of ice cream, but there's a line like 50 deep.
Oh yeah,
of 300-pounders looking to get ice cream.
She couldn't have gotten you an ice cream wall. Like what?
Right?
What a great kid.
And all I get is like, Dad, I'm really tired. Can we go home? So I didn't get free ice cream.
Oh, well, was it as hot?
She said, you don't even like ice cream.
Oh, who does? Come on. Well, hopefully it was better out there than the last night practice I went to that was a million degrees and had bugs everywhere.
Yeah, no, it was actually, I thought it was going to be pretty humid. Like the forecast said it was going to be pretty humid, but it wasn't bad. Like especially as it was hot. Like when practice started, they had a scary situation with Cam Rutherford, who they had to like ice down and get his body temperature down. But then once that sun kind of got a little below the trees, it was a nice evening out there.
Well, you guys had a jam-packed nightcap last night, so I'm going to try to go away from that. What?
The people have not heard. You went Friday, and we have not heard from you on the air since then.
I did do that. That's a while ago. I already forgot about it.
Well, but I wanted to on that's on record. Get some of your thoughts and observations.
Yeah, I put a lot of them on the board. Just that day specifically, I have to start with my guy Tyson Veit.
You love him.
Yes, I do. It's impossible especially at this stage to like try to quantify what a defensive coordinator means in terms of wins and losses. So I won't do that, but it's hard to just watch one practice and watch the defense one time and not think that there is the potential for it to be, I'm not going to say significantly, I'll go considerably better. And especially the defensive backfield. I liked a lot of what I saw from all the different guys at safety. They've gone from having no depth at safety to playing Taj Ward, Antoine Peak Jr., who was a walk-on at the time. I don't know. He still might be. I have no idea. DJ Taylor, like the safety position was just not in a good spot, top to bottom last year. And now you have, you damn near almost have 9-10 guys who could see the field and could be contributors. But Tyson Veit, somebody broke a coverage, long touchdown pass, and just lost his mind. And I loved every second of it. Without, being in there every day and seeing everything, it felt like that was a element last year that was missing, just an accountability factor, just a coaching level that just seems to be above what we had last year. And, talent will always win out, but if you have some better talent and you have some level of better coaching, I think that could bring us, a decently better defense. And
well, Dave, let me first say, like, I'm not here to defend Brian Brown, but Vince Lombardi couldn't have coached that defense to success last year.
No, we're not speaking out of turn when we say, like, wildly slow, wildly unathletic. A lot of guys doing whatever. When things started snowballing downhill towards the back half, it became even more evident. So yes, you're absolutely right. It's not and that's why I said the talent is the most important thing.
Yes.
But I think the upgrade in what I believe is an upgrade in talent, along with the type of defensive mind and that I think Tyson Vite is, could give them an opportunity to have a considerably better defensive unit this year.
I think linebacker and safety are pretty much in lockstep here in terms of those two units had no depth. They weren't great at the top end. And then there wasn't anything behind, those guys were playing because there wasn't anybody better behind them. So they were just in a situation where there wasn't a whole lot schematically they could do to mask the number of deficiencies they had. And then what happened was teams figured out they can't stop the pass. So it doesn't matter what down or distance that we have. We can pretty much do whatever the hell we want. And on third down, we're going to pick up a first. There's not a whole lot schematically you can do there.
No.
Now, do I think Brian Brown did a remarkable job last year? No. I think, there was stuff you're using Dante Corleone on stunts, and he's going up against. He should never go up against the tackle. That's what are we doing?
I mean, they dropped him into coverage at times.
Yeah, you had two of the most powerful guys in college football, and you had them running around and not getting up the field. That didn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, so that's my kind of first couple things was we're a big fan of his, and I do think there's legitimate upgrades in the secondary.
It's appreciably noticeable how much faster they are.
Yes,
more
I mean
athletic they
the
are.
whole look test, the size, speed, look test of the secondary is definitely noticeable. Offensively, I really enjoyed watching Tyron Smith and Aaron Turner. I think that could be for a multitude of reasons. We've talked about it a lot. The middle of the field, the intermediate stuff, the underneath stuff. Just didn't really give themselves a whole lot of second and shorts last year. And I think Sorsby and Tyron Smith already seem to have developed a good connection. And it's just getting the ball out quick, getting the ball to those guys, seeing if they can break a tackle or if they don't, it's a 5, 6, 7 yard gain, and you're in a much more advantageous position than they were a lot of the time last year. I think that whether it's the tight ends or those two guys, I'm encouraged about the pass catchers in that between the hashes and kind of 15 yards in area that really wasn't exploited at all last year.
Right. My offensive two deep is up. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it.
I gave it a quick glance when I had a minute today, but I did not study it. I have not had.
Really, the only surprise I don't even know if it's a surprise because we've prepared people for it, but there was a lot of talk going into camp that Philip Wilder was going to be given every chance to be the starting right tackle. I think DeAndre Buford being at guard yesterday with the second unit is kind of all the final piece of evidence that you need. I think and then the other really positive sign is they moved Xavier Lozowicki yesterday to left tackle on the twos, which tells me they are not preparing for a position battle at right tackle. You know what I mean? It seems like there's every indication Philip Wilder is going to start at right tackle, and then it was good to hear Ethan Green getting some praise that the light bulb may have come on for him.
I heard that. That was good. I listened to your guys.
That's a giant human. That's a really big human, and I mean, if you're in a situation now, Dave, going forward, where you are getting what you want from Jonathan Harder at guard and Evan Tengistal at center and Ethan Green at right tackle and Xavier Lozowicki at left tackle, you've got a pretty young quality group in that second unit that all of a sudden you start feeling good, not only about the line this year, but for the first time in God knows how long, Dave, you might start feeling good about the long-term prospects of the offensive line, that it's not going to be a Band-Aid situation every year. All right, we got a Band-Aid this spot. We got a Band-Aid that spot. We got like 2 guys that we feel good about, and we got to scramble to figure out how we're going to make this work. Maybe we're finally starting to see that offensive line depth that we've heard talked about for 6 years.
Right, and that's the thing is, in this era, in this portal, spending money, NIL, like you got, especially on the offensive line, you have to hit with those guys because it's a financial equation. Like we need those guys to develop and be players so that we don't have to go out and pay for premium offensive linemen because the options are just so limited. That if you're that hard up for it, you've got to overspend. And it's ridiculous that we have to have a conversation about a college football roster in the sense of finances and dollar allocation. But that's where we are. So it's like, I noted that in my comments on the board. Like Jonathan Harder absolutely looks like a P4 interior offensive lineman. 6'4", 330. It's just, the football part of it, development. Ethan Green, Evan Tengistal. I mean, if you can, because guess what, boys? We talked about 5 starting linemen coming back. Guess who's not coming back next year? Most of those
offensive line, right?
I think John Williams is probably the only one that even can come back, right?
I think there's a chance
Gerhardt maybe could, but
maybe again, can come back.
But like we want him to have a great year and go to the draft. So like you're looking at replacing 4 out of 5 starters. So it would be a real big boost to the program as a whole if 3 of those guys are already on the roster and they just take those positions next year as they're on the 2 deep. They maybe get some run in different situations, and then they ascend to those starting positions, and you're really only trying to find 1 new starter, so to speak. If you got to go out and find 3 or 4 new starters, like good luck with continuity, good luck with all of it. Because we've seen, it's very hard and almost impossible at UC's level to do that on the offensive line and think that you're going to get good production that next season.
Yeah, you're looking at, okay, we got to scour FCS and see if there's any guys that fell through the cracks. Or
G5,
well, not even G5. Those the top name G5 offensive.
They're going to the SEC in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah, they're getting a boatload of cash.
Look at Xavier. Him,
Lozowicki,
guy from Maine, freshman, played half the games. Like that's the type of guy you're trying to find and you're trying to hit on. Now, he might be good and he might work out, but like you're going to do that 3 or 4 times?
Right.
I don't like those percentages. So it would be an amazing thing if they could get those 3 or somebody. We use those 3 as an example. Could be anybody. But
we use those 3 as an example because they look like they're going to be on the 2 deep.
Yeah, and they're the most likely to have that opportunity.
Right. And then I know the staff is really happy with the early returns on Aiden Pastoriza and Zach Clark. Now, Clark, I think, has a little bit of an elbow injury right now that has him out. But, Clark, legit 6'6", 290. Pastoriza, legit 6'7", 280, 290. So you're hopefully getting to a point where you can see the future on the offensive line. Because, look, I'm telling you, every year I would watch the second team in practice and go, if any of these guys have to play,
yeah. Well, and it's when now that you're going to this 105 scholarships and everything, like they're gonna I think UC is a prime example of a team like we're gonna take 10 offensive linemen every year, and we're just gonna see who works out.
Yep.
And
We're gonna get them on campus, figure it out.
Yeah. We got all these technically all these extra spots. I mean, they're not really extra. They were there before, but now they're scholarships and whatever. So a guy that you might have been close on that was maybe a Western Michigan commit. Now you're just going to offer him and go, yeah, we'll take a chance because he's 6'5" and 270 in high school, and we think we can develop him. Like, we'll take the chance on all the offensive linemen.
And the problem is you're gonna have to do that because guess what? Some of those guys that we just mentioned, like Aiden Pastoriza, Michigan State might say,
yeah,
you know what? He's a home, Michigan. He's an in-state kid. We have extra spots now. We're gonna take him in. So
Absolutely.
There's gonna be a trickle down effect that it'll be interesting. But I'm at least encouraged offensive line wise that it finally feels like there's a pipeline being developed. And I mean, you go all the way back to like when Luke was here at like the beginning of his time. You had 3 walk-ons starting on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Like, and Garrett Campbell didn't play like a walk-on by that point in time, but you had to bring in Kyle Trout, and you had to bring in Dino Boyd, and luckily those guys worked out. They saved your ass.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to. You just can't band-aid it.
It's not the way. It's not the way you get successful on the, when you're not a blue blood along the offensive line. Like that's just not sustainable. You might get lucky and bring in one class of guys who comes together and plays really well, but then are you really going to be able to do that the next year when all those guys are gone? I mean, and I think that's one of the reasons that it felt like this transfer portal class, maybe there was a concerted effort, maybe it just worked out that way, but like the fewest amount of one-year guys that we can get.
Right. And I think that you have to do that by design.
Yeah.
I think that has to be an internal philosophy that
you're just putting yourself in the same position year after year if you don't.
Right. That's
a lot of pressure to hit on transfers year over year.
Well, and I mean, we've talked a million times, like we're seeing it in football and basketball. Guys are better. No shit. Guys are better in year 2 than they are in year 1 in your system. Yeah. So, you give guys a chance to develop and work with your staff and all that good stuff. Yeah, I mean, other than that on offense, I think, wide receivers, what we expect. Running back was what we expected coming in, what we've talked about. Tight end is I think Francis Sherman has been a little bit of a surprise for me because, we were told he had this reputation of like tough and nasty and inline guy and, guy that's going to play with some attitude. I don't think of those guys as like, why do I keep seeing him like 4 times a practice out running routes and making plays? And he's done that. He's got a little bit more ability than I anticipated as an offensive weapon and not just, I'm going to line up and hit you in the face type guy.
For sure. I mean, should I just call him when have we started the Sherman tank analogies? Is that how we started or we?
I was going with Shermanator.
The little American Pie.
Yeah. Keegan claims he had watched American Pie, but all he remembered is it was the first time he saw Shannon Elizabeth. He remembered that, and that blocked out anything else that happened in that movie.
Yeah, I would remember that too.
Right. But I was like the Shermanator, and he looked at me like I had 3 eyes.
It's just a classic, an absolute classic. Yeah. Last night though, night practice. You guys obviously had a lot to discuss in the nightcap. So
Yeah, I
Just,
looked up and we were at like 21 minutes. I was like, oh, shit, we got a lot to talk about still. And we've gone
anything
way.
like go watch that. You know, I don't want to make you just like re-say things that you said last night.
Yeah.
So outside of Michael Masari, who was your guy's dude of the day, with several big catches, what else jumped out from maybe look at it from this way? You've been at all the practices. Anything you've noticed progressing in a good way from maybe the acclimation days to now the first full pad day?
I mean, the biggest thing for me, Dave, is depth. It just felt like a year ago, if it wasn't, the top 15 guys on either side of the ball, there just wasn't anybody in line to make plays. There wasn't a lot of those guys on the periphery that you were taking many notes on, that you were kind of looking at as like, okay, this might be a guy that can move up the roster, or keep an eye on this guy as things go forward. There just weren't a lot of those. And, we're constantly talking about guys that are outside the ones, and quite a few guys that are outside the twos. Masari, for as good as he's been, where does he move up into the twos? Like, where does he get out of the threes? I mean, we were talking at practice last night. Masari, Evan Prater, and Barry Jackson are your three wide receivers. Like, there have been a couple years here, Joker Phillips, that those three guys might have been your, right up there with your starters.
Last year, those three guys. Last year. But those guys are getting 20, 30 snaps a game last year.
Right. And they're gonna have a tough time getting on the field because Tony Johnson's been really good. Jamoy Mays has been just as good as Tony Johnson. I don't think there's any drop off at that field wide receiver spot, one or two. There's not a whole lot of drop off. Tyron Smith, Aaron Turner. There's quite a bit of drop off from Xavier Henderson and Sterling Burkhalter, but I think you still feel okay if Burkhalter's out there getting 10, 15 snaps a game or whatever to give X a little bit of rest. I just at safety, we talked about the three guys that I think are going to start in Minkins, Miller, and Canteen, but then Logan Wilson has been making plays, and Kai Stokes, and
Jaquan
Sanks, and then you still have Antoine Peak Jr. that's back there that's now a veteran that is third team, and you've got Marcavius Sabor, who I saw making some plays yesterday, kind of the first time I noticed him in that star position. Ken Willis made a bunch of plays yesterday. He's the number 3 safety. So, all of a sudden it's like one of the things that just wasn't there last year. There just wasn't enough depth. There just wasn't you had to keep your defense out on you had to keep a not so good defense out on the field 70, 80 snaps a game because there was nobody to sub in for them. And, that is, now I think we're starting to see some separation at one's corner. Jordan Young had a really good day yesterday, and I'm noticing Ormani Arnold quite a bit. But, you still have Kalen Carroll. You still have Grady Johnson. You still have DJ Taylor is there. You still have Robinson, the Kentucky transfer, is there. So there's more depth there.
I wanted to ask you this. I guess it's a little bit different now with 3 safeties. Like, are they playing Ormani on the outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
just
field
a
corner.
smaller dude, so you just wonder how long he can hold up.
I'll tell you this
in the day to day. So,
and that question is more relevant because that dude likes to hit maybe more than anybody. He ain't afraid,
right? So it's like, are you going to get through 3 weeks of camp plus 12 weeks of the season as an outside corner who's on the smaller side that isn't afraid to tackle.
I mean, he sticks his nose in there. Like, he will hit you. Like, I've noticed that 4 or 5 times. Like, that dude wants to smack somebody. Like, he is out here playing to take somebody's head off.
Right.
Which, you know, he's listed at, let's see,
Probably 5'8", 180, maybe.
5'9", 178. So you were almost perfect there.
Okay. So yeah.
That, you know, that's not a 200-pound guy that's sticking his nose in there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how quality the depth is at corner behind those two guys. But there are a lot of bodies. And then Daniel James, I think, has got a chance to be really good eventually. I don't know that it's going to be this year. But I thought he's had some moments. Willie Goodwin, although Willie was Kerry Combs was not happy with Willie Goodwin for a period of time yesterday. And one of those, like, he messed up. I think he missed an assignment in zone, and Kerry got him over to the side and was, you know, telling him how nice his uniform looked. And then Willie runs back to get in line to go again, because it was either 1-on-1 or 7. I think it was 7-on-7. Willie goes back in line, and Kerry's like, Willie's next. Get him. Like, he is not over there waiting in line to get back out of here.
That's not what you want.
Get his ass on the field.
You need, like, some reps to, like, go to get your mind right. And I can't imagine that rep went any better.
Actually, he let off a little bit after that. I think because he showed he was willing to get back out there. But I just you know, linebacker, like, you know, they talk a lot about, like, and Tyson Veit talked about this. He watched tape from the beginning of the year on what Jack Dingle looked like, and he didn't look like the same guy at the end of the year because he was beat to hell, but they couldn't take him off the field because he didn't have anybody else to play there.
Right.
I did get this is a BCJ podcast exclusive. I was talking to Walt a little bit last night after practice, and he said a lot of times they will essentially have 4-down linemen because the Mike linebacker, the middle linebacker, will act as a extra pass rusher, which Jake Golday will probably be, you know, the primary guy in that role, but then also Jared Bartlett.
Yeah.
And he said having those two guys
have pretty good experience rushing the passer, so it's not a fish out of water situation where you're just asking a random linebacker to go pressure. Like, they have rush moves, they have experience doing that. So, because
it was funny,
you know, we've had a very positive 57-minute podcast so far, but you know, it's hard to escape the fact that I really don't know who's going to rush the passer this year outside of Darian Varner, because he's really the only guy that's ever done it at this level. And it's a legitimate concern to me right now is how are they going to put pressure on the quarterback? Yeah.
And, you know, Walt was like, look, I completely understand. He said the one thing he loves about Tyson Veit is that Veit is kind of giving him the freedom to do what he, like last year. Fick didn't want guys running at the quarterback. Like Majay was like a wild stallion. Like he just went like you just, you know, you take the bridle off of him.
There was no harnessing Majay.
But, you know, the way Fick wanted to do it, they want, you know, especially with a 3-man front, he basically wanted those guys to be run stuffers, and then, you know, they try to generate pass rush elsewhere. And then, you know, Walt didn't have Majay. So he didn't get to experience that. And he said last year, you know, they were so bad on the back end that you couldn't rush the passer because you had to drop as many guys in coverage as humanly possible so that you didn't just get annihilated in the air. He said he thinks he's going to have some more freedom to be creative. And I think look, you have to, if you're not going to have just like an NFL type edge guy, you're going to have to get creative and figure out different ways to win those matchups up front. You would like this, Dave. When I first went over and talked to Walt, it was Walt, Court Braswell, and Jake Golday. And I was like, Walt, you trying to make a trade here? Are you in negotiations here for your new defensive end? And he's like, no, I think we're gonna get to use him in some of those capacities. Everybody in the program raves about Jake Golday. Walt said Walt said in the past decade he's not had a guy since he was at Tennessee that he thinks matches up with Jake Golday's length and athleticism and ability to make plays.
He had a great year last year. It's just getting acclimated to a new system and a step up in competition. I mean, he produced, so
yeah.
Hopefully they can kind of get the same thing. Anybody last night on the defensive line in pass rush situations that you noticed, or is this still just kind of a day-to-day thing? And
it's still, I think they're still messing with so much. They're still trying to find out like who fits where. And then, like I said, Cam Rutherford wasn't at last night's practice outside of the first couple minutes. First couple periods, I guess, is probably more accurate. But I didn't notice anyone specifically, but they were moving guys around quite a bit and trying to like figure out like who fits where. I think Lendrick Barber might also, we've talked a lot about Marquez Parker. Lendrick Barber does not look like a freshman. I don't know if you got your eyes on him Friday when you were there.
A little bit. Like I talked to Jack a little bit about like him and Garrison Butler, because we had talked about Marquez Parker a little bit prior to me coming out there on Friday. Yeah. At that point though, it's no pads, and I just don't take anything from offensive defensive line stuff when they're not really full go. But him and Butler both, they both look like what very well put together freshmen, and what how much development do you need as a defensive lineman to contribute? So we'll see there.
Well, just to put it in perspective, Dave, Butler's pretty good size at 6'1", 285. Lendrick Barber's 6'3", 305.
Yeah, and that's down. Like he was up in the 320, 330s as like a senior.
Yeah. So he doesn't look like, you can still tell that Butler and Parker's a big, strong kid for a freshman, but they still look pretty young. Lendrick Barber looks like he's a transfer junior.
Yeah. The best way I could probably put it is, and this is no knock on anything that Lendrick did or what, but like Garrison Butler had very, very good high school coaching. So his technique is, I think, at a more advanced level at this point. And Barber just has to catch up in the way you use your hands, the way you use your moves, you're
a freshman. It's
right, exactly. But the size and everything and athleticism is there. It's just the bringing that part of his game up, where Butler probably doesn't have quite the elite defensive tackle size, but he's further along from an understanding the game and how to use your hands and stuff like that.
Sorry, it's I had to help bake today, Dave. We had a bake sale for freshman volleyball.
I went to the pool and played putt-putt, so pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Nearly identical.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big thing. Like that's, for me, that's the story of camp week 1 is, when the ones walk off the field, you're not left feeling like, I don't know if any of these guys,
these other guys can play.
I don't know if any of these guys should see the field. Like, what happens if somebody goes down? How about what would you think about this, Dave? In the 3-man front, you need to have a big physical run stopping defensive end, right?
Typically, you have a strong side and a weak side, and then yes.
What you think of when Dante comes back? You see Dante and Jalen Hunt on the field together.
I mean, I'm not against anything as long as, like, on first down, second, and like, who's getting to the passer? It's going to be my continuous.
But that's not going to change. You're still going to need that bigger physical defensive end on the field. In this league, they'll run on you on second and third down.
Well, I mean, if that's one of your best guys, then sure. Like, because I don't think it's really a pass rush thing as much as it's just there's just a lot of uncertainty about the defensive line as a whole. I mean, Dante, we know him as a football player. We don't know what he is going to be or when he's going to be or if he's going to be allowed to play. So that question looms over everything. Outside of that, like, Jalen Hunt seems to have really turned the corner this offseason and so far in camp. Does that continue? Darian Varner is really, to me, the only, like, known quantity that can get to the quarterback or has shown that he can get to the quarterback. So Rob Jackson, Marquez Parker, anybody else. Like, if Jalen Hunt is one of the guys then he should be out there. Because they're really, I mean, I have no rebuttal to say, like, I don't think that'll work because that means this guy's not going to be out there as much. Like, there's nobody, like, who are you saying, like, okay, if we want to do this, then that means we're sacrificing over here. Like, there's no over here right now.
Right. It was just something that I heard brought up as a possibility of, like, when we get Dante back, let's take a look. And what I'm guessing it is like something they talked about before Dante had his issue. Like, let's get a look at this at camp. And they haven't been able to get a look at it because Dante hasn't been out there. But if you get Dante back, I think, maybe you'll see some experimentation with that just to make sure. Yeah. Again, I said it in the Colorado segment earlier. You better be able to stop the run in this league, or they will just lean on you. Yeah. There's 5 or 6 teams that are just going to say, "Oh, you can't stop our great running back, our great run game." Okay. We're going to run at you first down, second down, third down. Yeah.
And then when you commit 7 guys to stopping it, then we'll throw it.
Then we'll go over the top. And now you've got 8 guys, 9 guys in the box trying to stop the run. And we just got a 40-yard pass over the top of you. So, but they do look like, I mean, safeties, I think, the Monday, they didn't have the full, they didn't have like the leg pads on, which if you got helmets and shoulder pads on, to me, you're in full pads. The guys on the field would probably disagree that they would like to have those leg pads on to keep from bruising up their thighs. But Monday and Tuesday, I thought the safeties were really physical coming down in the run game, and the linebackers were really physical coming down in the run game. And you have to have that if you're going to play 3 defensive linemen. I mean, it's a numbers game. We talked about that. We've talked about that since Cincinnati has been playing a 3-down front. If you're going to play 3 down, you better have safeties and linebackers that can win the numbers game, because you are very technically, in every sense of the word, outnumbered at minimum 5-3 at the line of scrimmage if you only have 3 down linemen. So,
right. Do you have me right now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, because my VPN was acted up. But yeah, I mean, we talked about that. I brought that up back when Vic was there, that I was like, I liked you saw it in the Memphis games when when you couldn't stop the run, and it was like an automatic 5 yards on first down. It offers up way too much. So yeah, I mean, that's the worry of the defensive line situation, is that it forces them to bring those linebackers up a little bit more to stop the run. And now you have this big gap. Well, you either have this big gap between the linebackers and the safeties, Or they come up also, and now they're 8-10 yards off the ball instead of 12-15, and now it's much easier to throw it over their heads.
Right. So, I don't know. You got anything else on camp you want to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, you guys talked about a bunch of it last night. We talked about it a bunch here. So, back out tomorrow, right? So Thursday, Friday, and then scrimmage Saturday.
Yes, that is correct.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like first day of pads is always a big day. Full pads, first days of truly tackling and whatnot. And then it's, okay, what does the scrimmage look like? When they're actually semi-scripting some things, when they're trying, when we're not doing position drills and then a quick whistle to go run like one play of 11 on 11 and then back to position drills and then to 7 on 7 or what, or one, like a full-on scrimmage will tell us a lot of the questions that we either have or the questions we think we have answers to, that we want some more data behind it. So I think that's kind of like a major checkpoint for all the things that we've talked about, to either say, yeah, we're on the right track with what we're seeing, or we need to talk about this some more, or reevaluate this because that was exposed or what have you in a scrimmage situation.
Yeah, agreed. You're coming back for the scrimmage, right?
No, I wish.
What do you mean, Dave?
No.
I mean, it's scrimmage number 1. It's important.
I know. Well, that's why you, Keegan, who knows who else might show up for that. You have to do a video from the scrimmage like you and I always do.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility because, like I said, I've got a family deal Saturday, like right after.
Yeah, so you need to get all your stuff done at higher ground. That way you don't have to go home and do anything else.
I mean, that's kind of the necessity.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's I don't think there's
just imagine like, we've talked about this a bunch, and I think we got that same vibe from Adam, like what he's allowed to see and not see. Like, imagine us coming on here and talking about 40-something, 46, 47 new players and a new defensive coordinator and a new defensive system, and us having to come on here and be like, yeah, we watched them stretch.
Yeah.
And do like 15 minutes of one-on-one stuff. But other than that, like, yeah, we got no idea what the hell's going on. Like, that would be.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, we are very honest with you guys when it comes to like what we think. But that's a lot of that is because we know we're gonna get the information at some point. Like, it's coming. We're going to be able to watch and make our own observations and like, be informed.
Yeah, it's not second or third hand. How was practice? Right. Oh yeah, this guy was good. This guy stunk. What blah blah blah. Like, we get to see it. So if you trust our football acumen, then you're all good.
I mean, it's probably questionable at best, but. It is what it is.
That's right.
All right. That was Talking Camp, Dave. You know who Talking Camp is brought to you by?
I'm gonna guess Home Field Apparel.
Home Field Apparel, Dave. Have you seen the box, the platinum box?
I have.
There you go.
Can I be honest?
You don't like it?
I'm a little bummed they went 2 t-shirts, no hat.
Yeah, I mean, they have a hat you can buy.
If we're being real, that, and I don't love white and like cream sweatshirt and t-shirts. I would have just liked black and red.
Yeah, well, there's a whiteout game 1, so if that was the intention of the platinum box, is to get you set up for everything that you would need this season. Dave.
But I love the red. shirt. I think that's a great
Yeah.
shirt. I love the black shirt.
You got the Dunking Bearcat.
Got the socks. Like, you're all set for week 1. You can get the whole home field gear for week 1 right there.
I mean, football's back, and the apparel sponsor of Bearcat Journal is Home Field Apparel. So I think, let's see, Friday, I think the 9th is when the Cincinnati Platinum Box goes on sale. So be ready. And we will. I think right now BCJ 23 still works. I need to send out an email tonight. I'm gonna have to make it be.
Is that for new shoppers only, or is this anybody?
I believe it's the new code. I think starts that over.
That would be nice.
So BCJ 24, and we'll get ready to get that going. As I said, it kicks off on the 9th. So
yeah, great stuff. Very, very comfortable. Wears well, washes well. I got plenty of home field stuff that still looks great after tons of wears, tons of washes.
The only thing I had the School of Mines one, and that was one of my favorite ones. And my puppy, when Callie was little, she got that out of the hamper one day, and she altered it to the point that it's not. I think she ate a hole in like the armpit.
Oh, that was
like, well, I'm not going armpitless. Like that's
just cut the sleeves off, make it a yard shirt or something.
Make it like Aaron, where I used to have to be like, Aaron, can you put your nipples away on screen?
Yeah, make it a yard shirt. Make it relaxing.
And don't shake your head at me, Aaron. You know you had to use like nipple tape a couple times.
Look, we got a new air conditioner here. Things are better.
He's showing off. He's showing off the pipes. Like,
went through some things.
It was never that he had shirts with no sleeves. They were cut all the way down. Like
came in a little narrow. Is what you're saying?
Right. Oh boy. So homefieldapparel.com on the 9th.
You put up the basketball hot board. I did see the other day.
Yeah.
There are guys that are, have been and starting to, line up all their visits. Anything with that, anyone in particular that you feel is kind of like, if there's a top target, it would be this guy. I know that you kind of like, I don't think you put him in order or anything. It was just names on it.
So, in terms of talent, Davion Hannah and King Grace are probably the two most talented guys, and their rankings reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
So those two are up there. Sean Abev, who popped up today. If you remember a couple days ago, I said I was waiting on one more guy, and then everybody kept, we need that. Where's the hot board? And I'm like, I'm trying to get this last piece of information because if it didn't
come through, then there's no point in bringing it up.
Right. And then, of course, I put the hot board up yesterday, and it gets worked out this morning pretty much. The visit. So Sean Abev, who's another, high 4-star, rising guy from this summer. There's a little bit of a difference there because this one's fairly new. Everybody else that's on there is a guy that they have been recruiting for a while. I dropped the piece of information today on there. One of the main reasons they're in the position they're in with King Grace, he has the same agent as Aziz Bandego. So that's a guy that, I know, like you said, Dave, you don't like the way that this is going, but
there's just so many more pieces that you have to pay attention to now than you used to. But hey, that's the way it is. So you either
relationship with agents is going to determine who you're able to get in on and who you're not able to get in on. Like, that's the changing landscape of all of this is, that's, and guess what? That's the other really difficult part of this, Dave, because these guys are changing agents quite a bit. Like, they're new to this. Like, the whole space is new. The agents aren't tenured in working with NIL and
no, they
whatever.
don't have like a laundry list of guys that they could be like, these are all the clients that I had, and this is all the things that I helped them get. Like,
right. So, but Sean Abev is another one. Jalen Reese they've been recruiting Jalen Reese forever. There's the connection to his dad and his dad's connection to the city. Like, I think that's one that, I think they're in as good a position as anybody with him.
Right. I mean, there's not really anything else they can do with him at this point. Like,
right. Like, he's either going to come or he's not. Like,
right.
That's, that's, I don't think that's going out on too much of a limb there. Keyshawn Tillery, I think, the kid likes Cincinnati. I don't think his list is one that's like impossible for Cincinnati to win.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you look at the schools that he's visited: Cincinnati, Wake, Ohio State, Florida, Villanova. Now he's a Northeast kid, a Northeast prep school kid. So Villanova might have an advantage there in terms of proximity, but and he's another one. I mean, he's high value, but it's so hard, Dave, because the more and more people I talk to, the more, like, that last year at this time, the number for, a top 40, top 50 kid was probably 200, 250,000. Now I'm hearing 400 to 500,000 plus. Yeah. And the other thing that I mean, I think is realistic to talk about is this class is significantly better than the last recruiting class, which was not a good class. Like, there was not a lot of depth. There was not a lot of high-end talent. So maybe that was just the market saying that's what these kids are worth. And now a year later, if you're talking last year, Dave, I firmly believe 2 out of the 3 of Grace, Hannah, and Tillery would be 5 stars in the previous class. And those guys are hanging from 25 to 50 generally.
Right.
So, but you're talking almost double, if not more than double.
Yeah.
And you know what a coaching staff has to decide? Do I want to spend that much of my NIL budget? Which, at the moment, Dave, nobody knows their NIL budget for 2025 because it is not going to be an NIL budget.
Right.
It is going to be revenue share. And schools have not yet decided who gets what piece of the pie. So you could be working with 3-4 million, and the football team gets a much larger chunk of the pie, or your athletic department could say, okay, football gets this and basketball gets just a little bit less, but football gets 8 and basketball gets 6, and that gets us up to 14, or however you want to do the math to get to 21, 22. I think it probably has to, I don't know how much you're giving to the other sports when football and basketball drive the bus, but I don't know how much, if they've said Title IX is going to have to apply in some way, shape, or form. I don't know.
It's just, but
whatever you're promising kids right now, you no idea.
Right.
You don't know. But that's where we're at while we go through limbo on what some of these final resolutions, and until things are put into action, it's difficult. If you take 2 of these guys, Dave, it's very realistic that's $1 million out of your entire team fund.
Yeah.
For freshmen that in the Big 12
not going to play.
Or if they play,
I mean, Like,
If they
probably
play, they're going
not.
to play 17 minutes, right? Like 17 minutes a game.
If that. I
Right.
feel generous.
Jizzle was like 18, 19 minutes
Yeah,
a game, and he was all Big 12 freshman. Like, he was that level. So,
at a position
I
that
don't
they
know.
had two guys.
Right.
It's like if you're at a different position, you already have two or three guys on the roster, and you're coming in as the
Well,
third or fourth guy as a freshman.
The other
Like,
thing that's going to be reality is this team's going to look a lot different in
Oh, yeah.
2025 than it's going to look in 2024. So
sure.
I don't think you want to go the Oklahoma State route. We've talked about this, where you're playing three freshmen 30 plus minutes a night, because ask Mike Boynton what that got him.
Yeah,
and
fired.
those dudes were talented.
Those
dudes could go.
Yeah, we saw it live.
Yeah.
Came into at UC and put up 90 something. I mean, so yeah, it's a whole lot of non-basketball and football stuff that is actual, on the court, on the field stuff that is being considered and worked into this that just wasn't a part of it 3 years ago, 5 years ago,
6 months ago.
Yeah,
it's different.
Now with with the scholarship numbers and revenues, it's a totally different way of looking at everything. Not saying it's good or bad, it's just different. And the coaches that can figure it out and use it as a strength will benefit, and the ones that are slow to adjust, I think it'll be pretty obvious who the ones that are slow to adjust are.
There's going to be no slow to adjust, Dave. It's coming. Like, I just
mean, like, how they go, like, with the dollars that they maybe have, or however it works. Like, there's going to be people that, coaches are, Dabo has fought the transfer portal for how long, and he's finally relented. Like, there's going to be coaches who are hard-headed and want to continue to do the things that, So
basketball is not football, Dave. Everybody in basketball is like, let's go get some old guys.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody in basketball is like, hey, I get a roster full of guys that have already played 2 years college basketball. Let's do that.
Right.
They're not developing 6 or 7 340 pounders anymore.
Weighing the how many freshmen, how many transfers, how soon do I go on a guy, because
how high am I willing to go? Like,
right.
It's one of my problems with the Bengals and the Reds at times is the reality of, like, they say, okay, this is, if it goes above this, we're out.
Right. You can't just have a hard and fast, like, then who are you going to get? Because what if everybody goes above your number?
Right. Like, the Reds could, like, all sorry to get off topic for a second, but it proves a larger point. The Reds said they went as far as they could go with Sonny Gray. If it would have taken an extra $2 million to get Sonny Gray on this roster, don't you think things would look a lot fucking different than they look right now? Like, so these are decisions that have to be made in conference rooms on, okay, such and such, put such and such on the table. Are we willing to spend that much money of our budget? And how much money are we putting aside for the freshman class? I think you have to do that.
Right.
Like, this is ballpark what we're going to spend on our freshman.
This guy wants X. We don't want to pay that, but how much better is he than this guy that wants Y? Like, we like that dollar amount, but we don't like that athletic ability.
Right.
So which one are you going to pay more to get the good talent? Or are you going to, like, who are you bragging to that, we only had to pay X for this guy? And it's like, well, yeah, because he's not any good. So, like,
and it's just from talking to a lot of my friends across the space, like, they're all like, there's schools out there telling kids that they're going to get money that is probably not going to be even allowed with the way that this new system is supposed to be being done, that you're not supposed to be allowed to go above and beyond what is going to be in the revenue share. unless it is fair market value. And I know a lot of people don't like that. I'm torn on that because I've always been a believer of you're worth what somebody will pay you.
Willing to pay you. Absolutely.
But there also are rates for things in the NIL space that people are just using it to buy players.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the car
Their
dealership
value.
that you
Right,
signed
their
an NIL
value.
deal with. Right.
Right.
It's not name, image, and likeness. It is buying players. So I'm a little conflicted in terms of my my
Right.
stance. Like we're at a crossroads at my stance on some of these things.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not a matter of what your inherent name, the value of your name, image, and likeness is. Although I guess you could argue your name is the part that they're buying.
Yeah. This group of teams think I'm worth that, then that's what I'm worth. And if you can't, you might love me more than all those teams combined. But if you can't,
if they're offering $500,000 or more, or $250,000 more, I mean, look,
that's the way the game works, man. I mean, this is free agency. That's free agency.
Yeah.
Some guys just sign somewhere because they gave them the most money. Other guys signed somewhere because they gave them a lot of money, maybe not the most money, but a lot of money, and they have a great chance to win or it's close
whatever.
to whatever the reasons. But yeah, I mean that's what this is.
Yep. Let's get in one more timestamp. I don't really have a whole lot else. Do you, Dave?
No, because there was no practice today.
No, we'll be back.
Back at it tomorrow. Morning. So
yeah.
Nope.
Well, this whole show, Dave, all of it, brought to you by Turtles Brew. This segment, the last segment, the segment before that, 6% ABV, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. They have lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's 100 locations in Ohio, over 50 in and around greater Cincinnati. They also have pouches. You can get 12-ounce pouches like an adult Capri Sun. And I love Capri Sun. Those things are delicious. You can get those in individual or 5-packs. Go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. You have a safe and wonderful trip in Gatlinburg.
Oh, yeah.
Say hi to the Bears. We didn't tell that part on the show.
Oh, yeah.
You had Bears on your front deck.
Bears on the front porch this morning. Bears in the road. Bears digging in people's garbage. Yeah, lots of bears. Lots of black bears. So
they're the friendly ones, right? The brown bears are the mean ones.
It sounds like, idiot people feeding them have just made them very comfortable. Like they're not interested in coming at you. They're just interested in finding food. And so if you see them or whatever and you make some noise or whatever, they'll usually run off. But yeah, they're everywhere. Sounds like.
Clearly. You've already seen like a whole neighborhood of black bears.
Yeah.
Did you guys get there?
What's that?
When did you get there?
Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw some Tuesday morning. We saw then the ones this morning on our porch. But yeah, they're out there. So you got to be careful.
Tell them I said hello.
I will. Will just stands on the deck and screams bear as his bear call. Just try to get them to come over to our house.
That's outstanding. All right, man. I will see you next week. Maybe you can make it out to higher ground at some point before things wrap up. Probably not, since you've been on vacation for a week. You'll tell him work. You're going to take a half day. I'm
kind of working while I'm here.
Okay.
When I need
like this, you're kind of working while you're here.
Exactly. Got better Wi-Fi connection here in the mountains than I do at my own house. It seems
I
like.
was going to make that comment, but I just let it slide. Like your connection was much better tonight than it has been.
Probably have a couple less devices working at the same time. So
Yeah.
but
All right. We will we'll see you next week. Thanks to Adam Munsterteiger. I think I got that right again. I think I went 3 for 3. And thanks to Dave Simone. This is the BCJ podcast presented by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. Thanks, Script Keeper.